Hello, everyone. This is Tom Fox. I would like to welcome you to the Sunday Book Review. The Sunday Book Review is the series where I discuss books which impact the compliance practitioner, the legal professional, and the business professional. I hope you will enjoy this episode. The Sunday Book Review is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network. First, a quick word from our sponsor. The Sunday Book Review for May 22nd, 2022, the High Altitude Edition. Our books today come from an article in Crime Reads by Amy McCullough entitled 8 Thrilling Books to Read About Mountaineering. We begin with Into Thin Air by John Krakauer. It is really very difficult to talk about mountaineering literature without mentioning this incredible story of the 1996 Everest climbing disaster where 8 climbers were killed in one storm. The author is a journalist who was covering the expedition for Outside Magazine. And it is a gripping, compelling, and even haunting story. And it's one of the worst, I think it's the worst disaster on Everest, so it's certainly a great place to start. Next, Thin Air by Michelle Paver. Although this is has a similar title to John Krakauer's book, it is very different. This is a ghost story novel set in 1935 and following a British doctor and adventurer named Stephen on an expedition to the world's third highest mountain. It has historical details about early climbing, how climbers used to stuff their boots with straw, for instance, to ward off frostbite, and the food they had to eat. The novel takes an increasingly creepy turn as the climber Stephen is haunted by a spectral figure from a prior failed expedition. Is he going mad or not? Next up is Space Below My Feet by Gwen Mulfat. This is written by Britain's first female mountaineering guide, and it's a great memoir about a life lived in the outdoors. It depicts some of the discrimination, bewilderment, and skepticism the author faced when she would show up to climb. But it ends, at the end of the day, it's an inspirational story for anyone who wants to pursue their own ambitions. You knew we were going to have a horror novel in here if we're in the mountains because we have to talk about the Indomitable Snowman. And that is found in the Abominable by Dan Simmons. Where would a mountain story be without the threat of the Abominable Snowman? The author of The Terror takes us to from the Alps to the Himalayas, accompanying a young American climber in the same period as Sir Edwin or George Mallory, rather, were attempting to summit Everest in 1924. But the monster is not who it seems. And our final novel is The White Road by Sarah Lotz. In this book, the author, this novel, follows a young man's adventures to Everest as he tries to determine the mystery behind what happened to a missing mountaineer. He depicts the phenomenon of the third man, where exhausted climbers sometimes feel the presence of a mysterious spirit. It's a creepy novel and leaves us questioning our sanity as much as some of the earlier novels do as well. This week, the Communicators Society awarded 2 podcasts on the Compliance Podcast Network awards of distinction. The first was Gwen Hassan's Hidden Traffic, and the second is Karen Woody's Classrooms Insider. So congrats to Gwen and Karen for these awards. Also, we have a new podcast on the Compliance Podcast Network, 2 actually. The first is All Things in Investigations. It's from the law firm of Hughes Hubbard, where I interview lawyers in their investigations practice, and The Woody Report, where I take a deep dive into securities law with securities law professor Karen Woody. Look for both of these shows on the Compliance Podcast Network. And we actually have one more, which is Taxman on the intersection of tax and compliance, where with my tax colleague extraordinaire Tracy Howell, we look at 5 different issues that every compliance officer needs to be aware of regarding corporate tax. It's a fascinating series that's on a topic not often explored.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.